We've been slaving away on this Pinto paint job. It's starting to come around. Got some wet sanding. A couple of places we've used 800 and then 1,000 and then 1,500 and 2,000. We got to be careful that we just don't get carried away. We got a spot right there that we're going to have to redo because we went through the paint, but pretty much have the front end done. The hood, 99% of it came out pretty nice, and I'm gonna have to hope that I can blend in that spot there with some fresh paint. I got that little detail gun and a little spot there right on the peak, but I think the fenders are good. We still have to do the roof, which is going to be the big project, and this side down here, we've done the other side. We haven't buffed it yet, but just a little bit every day. I think it helped quite a bit that we let the car sit for a week and let the paint cure a little better before we attacked it. So it's all good. You know, we painted our own car. Looks like we painted our own car, but we only have to please ourselves. It looks a whole lot better than it did before, and you know, from 10 feet away it's perfect. So as I said, I only have to please myself. A lot of things I would do differently if I was going to do it again, but I can tell you this, it won't be in the summertime. We'll wait till the fall if we do another one. But there you have it, a white Pinto. Alright, so we're doing this project here in the backyard. It's just a little project that we got these spiffy letters that spell out fraud or Ford, whichever way you put them, and it's not a big deal. But I want to know who the flippin' genius was that thought it was a good idea to shrink wrap over those little tube nuts. Somebody, some genius at Scott Drake Ford Parts. I'd like Mr. Scott Drake to come over here and show me how the hell you're supposed to get them out of there without losing them on the ground or cutting your fingers to bits or something. I mean, seriously, they're so tiny. Why wouldn't you just put them in a bag and shrink wrap over the bag? Spent 20 minutes so far getting 4 of them out of there and trying to get the shrink wrap off the part, and 2 seconds to put them in the hood and pop the letter on. So that's my rant for today. All right. Kind of sitting here in the driveway. It's a nice evening, kind of cool. We made it to our first car show and back. It's only about a 10-mile round trip, but we made it there and back, which was the first time really it had been anywhere outside the driveway. So it's loud, obnoxious, cranky, a little tricky to drive. Pedals are still too close together, and somewhere along the line on the return trip we blew the PC valve hose out of the valve cover, and that did 2 things. It started to smoke because it was breathing out the hole in the valve cover, and it also had a giant vacuum leak. So every time we come up to a stoplight, engine wanted to quit, so we had to do some fancy footwork there to throw it in neutral, hold the brake, jazz the throttle, let go of the brake, put in the clutch, jazz the throttle, get her moving. You know, just all normal kid stuff. I think old Bob might be a little too old for this hot rod, but we'll see. It's all painted up. Still needs a little bit of buffing. We got all the little medallions back on. We still have to put a couple of corner bumper brackets in there. I don't like the way that bumper's turned up on the corners. It seems like they did that, but that's one of those things that just drives me crazy. So we'll have to put a little twist in that bumper and put a bracket in there so that's nice and square coming around there. But it has really come out okay. It unfortunately now looks better on the outside than it does on the inside. But it still needs quite a bit of sorting. It's got a lot of gear in it, 411 gear in it, so it doesn't take long to get into high gear, but it's got some vibration at higher RPM, and I'm going to have to look into that. Could be drive shaft angle. Could be the OG didn't put the right flywheel in it. Don't know about that. These small block Fords, you got to match the flywheel with the balancer because they're externally balanced. So if you got the wrong flywheel on there, that's not good. And that's going to be hard to discover. But it's pretty doggone close to being done. They're never done. These projects are never done. But it's down to little things now, and at least it looks halfway decent. So now we're going to change the thermostat in this little monster, and it's down in there. So the OG for some reason put a 210 degree thermostat in there, I believe. We're going to replace it with a 180. So I'm going to take this top hose out of the way, get down in there. Should be a bypass hose and a couple of bolts. We've already drained the water. We'll see what happens. Okay, a couple of things. Somebody, somewhere, some genius has decided to put studs in the manifold instead of bolts. And while that may appear to be a good idea, it ain't. Because if there were bolts in there, I could just take that thing right out of there. Now I've got to slide it back far enough to clear the studs to get it up out of there. And I'm fighting that hose down there, and I'll be fighting this alternator bracket. You know, sometimes people just don't think things through. Remember, you might have to be the next guy that works on this. Okay, it's been a minute since we updated anything on this Pinto. And here's the pedals again. We've been pedaling this project to death, but I think we finally got it. We straightened the brake pad out, and it's pretty much in the middle. We whacked off everything we could on the clutch pedal on one side, and made a new steel plate and bolted it onto what was left so it sticks out. I don't know if I said we whacked everything off the left side, but off the right side anyway. I'm looking upside down. Anyway, we've got an extension out to the left that gives us a place to put our foot, so I think we're finally happy with the pedals, and we put a new piece of carpet back in there, so let's hope that does the trick. We still got to use our skinny shoes, but that's okay. Okay, we got this nice product here that we bought. Comes from somebody called Ryan Starr. No idea who that is, but basically it's a overflow bottle for the red. We've had the engine running, and when it gets up a little too hot, it wants to pee a little water out. So we'll put this in there. We've got a hose there that connects to the overflow tube on the red and to the can, and we got a lid to take off here. We can put a little liquid in there, and we got this kit comes with some brackets and clamps and screws, and you know, we'll see how that works. In theory, you put a little liquid in there, water, coolant, whatever, just above that tube, and when the engine gets hot, it'll open the radiator cap and push a little fluid out and come into this bottle here, and then when it cools down, the cap will open up and allow the fluid that's in here to get sucked back the other way if you got a vacuum. So we're going to see how that works, if that helps. At any rate, it ought to keep it from peeing water out on the ground, which is never good. We're working on mounting our overflow coolant bottle. Probably the only place we got to put it is over there on that panel. I would have liked to have put it on the rad support, core support, but there's just not enough room the way things go. So we'll fasten it in over there and get it plumbed in. The other thing that we've got to look at here is the cooling system in general, because what happens with this thing is that it gets hot, and you know, it's a little motor, big motor in a little car or whatever you want to call it, and you get out cruising around a little bit and get a couple of stoplights, and the first thing you know, you're 210 or 220, and I don't like that. I would prefer to see the thing run 180 to 190. Don't know if we can make that happen. The radiator that's in there is a top of the line unit. I have the receipt for it and the paperwork that came with the car. The problem is that I contacted the people that make the radiator, and according to the nice lady in tech support, that radiator is good for about 300 horsepower. And I don't know, I'm probably at 305, 310, maybe a little more, who knows. But at any rate, I think we're marginal on a radiator size. And it's a 2-row radiator, which I don't particularly think is a good idea, but they make the same radiator in 2 rows with bigger tubes. And what that does, it gives you a lot more water capacity. And then they also offer a dual electric fan shroud combination with that radiator, and right now we're just trying to suss out if we can fit that in here. You know, right now we have a fan on the front acting as a pusher, and that's not necessarily the best way to do things. For one, you kind of, if you're not running the fan, you kind of blocking the normal airflow through the radiator. And you know, the way this is set up, there's really no shroud, so the fan's only cooling the center of the radiator. If we can get a dual fan set up with a shroud that goes all the way around the radiator and dual fans, and that's going to focus all the air through the radiator. And the other thing is that that setup is a puller, so it goes, the fan setup goes down in here and pulls the air through rather than trying to push it from the other side. And I think that's a better setup. The problem is that we are pretty doggone tight there, and we need to have 2.5 inches between the upper pulley and the radiator, and right now we've got about an inch. So what we've got to look at here is, can we move this radiator forward an inch or an inch and a half to give us enough room on the backside to put that new combination in there. Now this fan sticks out about an inch and a half to 2 inches, so we're going to take that out of there, and it should allow us to bring the radiator forward a bit. We're just going to have to see, and of course that entails taking half the car apart like everything else. You know, it's got nuts and bolts everywhere, but we should be able to just bring that, since the new radiator that they offer is the same dimension externally as this one, we should be able to bring this radiator forward, and then that will give us enough room to put the replacement in. The other downside to getting the new one is it's almost more than old Bob's Social Security check, so we gotta have a garage sale to generate some revenue to buy that new radiator. But that's kind of where we are, what we're working on. Things are always a work in progress, and this one is no different. The other thing that we've got to do, and we covered this in an earlier video, is change the advance curve in that distributor. We have a distributor that we did, you know, quite a few videos ago where we changed the springs. That particular distributor is a single point distributor with a vacuum advance. This distributor is a dual point distributor with no vacuum advance, just a mechanical advance, and we're not really getting enough timing advance the way we have it set up now. We've made a few laps, let's say maybe we've driven 10 or 15 miles, and what I see, the RPM range is 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs, and we're not seeing enough advance in that RPM range. In fact, we pulled the #1 plug, and you can look at the ground strap on the spark plug, and that'll tell you whether your spark advance is good or not. And our spark plug says we need more advance. So we've got a couple of those little dinky springs coming, and we'll have to pull that distributor apart, pull the breaker plate out, and change those advance springs, and that should bring the total advance in around 2,800. Right now, the total advance, and I want to say 36 degrees total, doesn't come in till over 5,000 RPMs. Below that, it's just sort of moderate. So, you know, we're not going to be riding around at 5,000 RPMs very often. So we're hoping that changing those springs and bringing a little more timing in at lower RPM will also allow it to run a little cooler. We'll find out. All right, we've got our overflow bottle mounted down in there, and I think it came out okay. Got a bunch of hoses and stuff in the way there, but it's kind of tidy, sits in there. We can get out the lid quite easily, and I hope that will work for us. It should, at the very least, keep the thing from peeing water out on the ground when you stop somewhere. The OG guy had this overflow tube run down here and ran over there with a 90 and then just dumped straight out on the ground, which it's not too spiffy. So at any rate, excuse me, I hope this will work a little better.